they have to bring to the table anywhere between $4,000 and $6,000. And with our grant, we actually get $5,000 if you qualify. You do not have to pay this money back, but we do ask that you stay at home for 5 years. Now, with this program, because it's HUD funded, our target is low to moderate income households, those who fall between an 80% income limit, that's for the Louisiana area. Now, for our program, the home has to be in the city limits of Lake Charles, and the home cannot be in a flood zone. So that's why it's very important that you guys work with your realtor, so your realtor will work with the lender, so you know that the home, it's not in a flood zone. Now, with this program, you do have to go through a home buyer counseling class. And here you have a community voice, and they can work with you to get any kind of information as to what you need to do first. What's the process? Because lots of times people do not know where to get started. So going through the counseling classes, they will work with you on getting your credit together and basically telling you, okay, this is together, now you need to go to your lender. From your lender, you're going to your realtor. And a realtor, they're not going to work with you unless you have a pre-approval letter. So this is why it's very important that you guys make sure that your credit is intact. And with our down payment grant, again, it's $5,000. You do not have to pay this money back. This grant is going to be a soft second on your loan, meaning that you have to stay home for 5 years, so we file at the courthouse. And if you try to sell at home before that 5-year period, we will be contacted, because that means you would have to owe the city their prorated amount back at the time of your sale. So be very mindful that those who are going through the people that's going through the programs, they're looking for maybe not a forever home, but they're not looking to get these homes to purchase and then turn around and flip them and sell them. We want people who are very eager to be a homeowner. Within the last 2 years, we have actually had 43 families become homeowners. 43 people, 43 families, I must say. So just think about those who may not have had a chance or the ability to purchase a home without the help with the grant. Now, if you're sitting at home with $15,000, $20,000 in your checking and savings, yeah, you guys don't need our money. We're trying to help those who actually need the money. So be mindful of the program. Go out and tell the people that you may know that may be interested or may qualify or may have a chance or willing and eager to be a homeowner, that the City of Lake Charles have this great program. You do not have to pay this money back. And how many times do you hear people say, okay, this is free money? You don't hear it too often. Free money. The only thing that we're asking is that you guys do the legwork. And at the end of everything, you guys will have a piece of the American pie, which is all in the home. So I want to say to everyone, good luck, and thank you guys for coming out. My information is on the brochure at the table. So if you guys have any questions or as far as where to start next or what's the next process, give me a call. I'll take out the time to even work your income over the phone. So you don't have to just come in, I'm here, this is what I love doing. I've been doing this for over 15 years, and I think this is one of the biggest programs that basically gives me joy, is to seeing people who may have thought they did not have a chance of owning a home to become a homeowner. Okay, y'all have a great day, and thank you for listening.
Also, we have a guest that's visiting with us today, Mr. Tyler Rader. He's running for Congress. He'd like to say a few words to the people. Come on, Mr. Larry. Yeah.
Thank you so much for Mr. Roy for that warm introduction. Indeed, it is a pleasure to be with you here this morning in Lake Charles. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm from a very small rural community, Jeanerette, Louisiana. In 1971, I graduated from high school, joined the United States Air Force. I'm a Vietnam-era veteran. I served at a small base called NKP Thailand. And what we did was we was a CIA operation at that time into Vietnam, North Vietnam. Got out of the military, attended University of Maryland as well as Ohio State, as well as ULL here in Lafayette, Louisiana, and decided to go into business for myself. I am in the insurance and financial services industry, and I've been doing that for the last 40 years, as well as investing in real estate myself throughout the Acadiana area. This is my second time running. I ran the last time between Clay Higgins, Scott Angel. We finished third. We didn't do some of the things we're doing now, which is coming out and meeting people and talking with people. So we sort of learned our lesson from that, and so we're hoping to come out first this time. Lake Charles and Lafayette are the two biggest areas that we have, so we're working diligently to make sure that you know that there is someone out there that can represent you and represent you in a manner where it's going to be advantageous for our community. So what do I mean by that, advantageous to your community? Well, one of the things that I hope to accomplish is to make sure that we reinvest back into our community. There was a $3 trillion tax that was passed, so the 1% at the top. I want to make sure that $3 trillion, when I get in office, some of that money come back and we reinvest it back into the inner city of our communities. That's extremely important. We cannot have one side of the community doing well and the other side of the community not doing well. You need an entire body to do well. We all should do well and live the American dream together. So that's my biggest thing, and there's a way that can be done. It's not impossible, it can be done, as well as change the dynamics of our country, the direction our country is going in. You know, we cannot have closed borders. We need to have, to some degree, monitored borders, but not closed borders. We don't need to kill women and children. That's a no-no when I was in the military. That was a big no-no. That was an Article 15. So from my perspective, we've got some work to do. We need to invest back in America. We need to make sure that our kids, when we leave this earth, our kids have a wonderful home and a beautiful place to live in. They've got clean air, clean water, and food. Something as simple as that. So once again, my name is Larry Reed. I know I made my round and I spoke to a lot of you already. If you have any questions or concern, please feel free to catch me before I leave out. Thank you once again. May God bless you and may God bless America.
Okay. Also, we'd like to invite Mrs. Wendy Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Laney Roy. Thank you, Terry. Good morning, everyone. My name is Wendy Campbell Robinson, and I am running for school board here in Calcasieu Parish, District 2. That's this district that we're in right now. My number is 58 on the ballot, and I would appreciate it if you would come out and vote. Now, again, remember early voting is today and Monday and Tuesday, 8:30 to 6 o'clock at the courthouse. There's a lot of things on the ballot, but remember District 2 School Board, Wendy Campbell Robinson. Now, my platform, I'm not going to sit here and stand here and just tell you a lot of those things like that. We do know we need some changes with our schools here in District 2. And for the last 12 years, we've been our schools. Now, I like to make this clear. Our schools have been in a failing state, but our kids are not failing, y'all. Our kids are making some of the grades. They're getting up there. They're making the advancements that they need to make. Not all, but some. But our schools are still not where they should be. And I want to change that. I want our school board to be more transparent. We need to know what's going on. We need to know where the money's going. We need to make a difference in our community. And I appreciate your vote. Again, my name is Wendy Campbell Robinson, and I'm number 58 on your ballot. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Okay, let's read your.
Yes, sir. All right, thank you, Mr. Roy, and good afternoon to everyone. It seems that I have the anchor for it this afternoon, and I'm going to let you know that I'm going to be short. Well, I'm already short. I'm talking about my presentation is going to be short, mainly because I'm tired. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm tired. I'm ready to go home, so I'm going to go through this very, very, very quickly. I'm just being real. I'm sorry. So, Mr. Roy asked me to talk about federal fair housing laws, and so I'm going to pass this out. If everyone can please grab one of those. And I'm not going to stand here and read to you, but I will cover the various laws. And I'm going to give you an acronym in order to remember the protected statuses as it relates to federal fair housing laws. How many of you like corn? Yeah, someone already said it. Fresh corn is the acronym that I'm going to share with you this afternoon so that you can remember the protected status. So, as you're going out and you are in the process of securing a lender, working with a realtor, and so forth, there are protections for you as a United States citizen under federal housing laws. And so we just want to make sure that you are aware of what those protections are. And again, the acronym is Fresh Corn. And the protected status are familial status, age, race, color, religion, national origin, and sex. I think that I got them all. But if I didn't, I'm going to cover them all here again in a second, just to make sure that we have them all. And so I want to start off with by saying that, believe it or not, the first government effort to guarantee equal housing opportunity to U.S. citizens actually was passed with the Civil Rights Act of 1866. Now, obviously, this was shortly after the Civil War. There's a year after the Civil War. And so this was the first piece of legislation that was passed. And that particular law prohibited any type of discrimination based upon race. Now, true to form, as with a lot of things, the next major piece of legislation did not come about until 102 years later, okay? So nothing happened from 1866 until 1968. And so the next major piece of legislation was the Fair Housing Act of 1968. Can someone kind of tell me what happened in 1968 that kind of pushed that legislation along? 1968, April of 1968 to be exact, Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated. And so shortly after Dr. King's assassination, the wheels start moving very, very fast to push certain legislation along. And one of those pieces of legislation was the Fair Housing Act. So that act is administered by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. We heard Ms. Benson talk a little bit about that earlier today. So a lot of the federal funds for housing and so forth, they come through HUD. And HUD is responsible for establishing rules and regulations that further fair housing. And so one of the things that they do require, if you notice, many of us who receive HUD funding, such as the City of Lake Charles and other entities, one of the things that we have to do is that we have to display the Equal Housing Opportunity poster. The poster declares that the office in which it is displayed promises to adhere to Fair Housing Act and pledges support for affirmative marketing and advertising programs. Also, there were fair housing amendments, which expanded the federal civil rights protections to include families with children and people with physical and mental disabilities. The act also changed penalties, making them more severe, and added damages, such as those for non-economic injuries, such as humiliation, embarrassment, inconvenience, and mental anguish. So what I'm trying to say here is that HUD takes prosecuting fair housing very, very seriously. All you have to do is go to their website, and each day they're prominently displaying someone that they have prosecuted for violations under the Fair Housing Law. Some exemptions to the Fair Housing Act are owner-occupied buildings with no more than 4 units. So for example, across the street there is a duplex, and if the owner of that duplex decides that they want to live in one of those units, if they're renting the other unit, they do not have to follow fair housing laws because they live in one of the units. So that's what is meant by owner-occupied. Single-family housing sold or rented without the use of a licensee, and we're talking about someone that is a licensed by the state of Louisiana as a realtor, or housing operated by organizations and private clubs that limit occupancy to its members. Also, there is the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, which is very similar to the Fair Housing Act. It pertains to the lending practices. And so a lot of the lenders are here today, and they will tell you about this particular federal law, which prohibits discrimination based upon race, color, religion, national origin, sex, marital status, or age, or the recipients of public assistance in granting of credit. The ECOA requires that credit applications be considered on the basis of income, net worth, job stability, and credit rating. And you've heard all of that talked about here today. And so when the lenders are evaluating your credit, those are the 4 things that they're primarily looking at. Anything else is discriminatory. Some housing practices that's prohibited. One of those is blockbustering, and that is the act of encouraging people to sell or to rent their homes by claiming that the entrance of a protected class of people into the neighborhood would have some sort of negative impact on property value. And so, obviously that is prohibited. We really, quite honestly, we don't really see that much anymore, but it is still possible for it to exist. Any message, however subtle, the property should be sold or rented because the neighborhood is undergoing changes is considered blockbustering. It is also illegal to assert that the presence of certain persons will cause property values to decline, or that crime or antisocial behavior to increase, or that the quality of schools will suffer. Something else is steering. Steering is the channeling of home seekers to particular neighborhoods, or by discouraging potential buyers from considering certain type of housing. So in the rental process, steering occurs when the landlord puts members of a protected class on certain floors or buildings. Now, having worked in the affordable housing field and the subsidized housing field for over 25 years, this still happens. This is unbelievable, but it still happens. In fact, I've been around long enough. Many years ago, there was a public housing authority in Southwest Louisiana. It was more in the Acadiana area. They got in trouble for this because as they were admitting people to their public housing developments, they were placing people in certain buildings and properties and so forth. And HUD came down hard on them for that. So steering is something that can be very challenging. Another form of steering occurs when the landlord tells potential or prospective tenants that no vacancy exists when in fact there is. And that happens a lot too. And so basically what occurs now, agencies like the Greater New Orleans Fair Housing Action Center and others, they go out and they do what's called testing. And so they'll call different types of property management companies and so forth, and they'll ask about vacancies. They'll have one class of person call, see what's said, a different class call, see what's said, to make sure that no one is doing anything that's inappropriate. Advertising. Advertisement of property for sale or rent may not include language indicating a preference or limitation. So any type of advertisement that says that someone wants a certain type of person or indicates a certain type of preference is also illegal. And again, that gets kind of dicey there, but it's kind of like obscenity. You know it when you see it, okay? Also, there's protections in appraising and redlining. Redlining is the practice of refusing to make mortgage loans or issue insurance policies in specific areas for reasons other than the economic qualifications of the applicants. This is known as redlining. Redlining refers to literally drawing a line around particular areas. And of course, that is prohibited as well. So, just to kind of recap very, very quickly, I told you guys that I was not going to be long. The acronym that we want to share with you for protected status is FRESH corn. F is for familiar status, which means that people should not be discriminated against based upon they have children, that they're pregnant, those type of issues. One of the things that we see in terms of violation of this particular part of the fair housing law is when a landlord will say, well, I don't rent to people with children or something like that, or, you know, you just can't do that, okay? Unless they meet one of the exemption categories that I mentioned to you that's on the back of your page. The second one is race. The third one is, stands for equal. The third one is sex. The next one is handicap. The C is for color. The O is for opportunity. The R is for religion, and the N is for national origin. So if you remember the acronym of Fresh Corn, you'll be able to remember the protected status under the fair housing laws. Are there any questions? All right, Mr. Roy, we're going to be able to get out of here early?
Let me, again, I want to thank everybody that came out today and joined us. But before y'all leave, go back and visit the table again to make sure that y'all get some understanding and see what kind of projects they have to offer y'all. So y'all have a good understanding why the pay is being given. It is for y'all benefit, and you'll never know until you ask questions. The people over here to answer y'all questions, please do this before y'all leave. And again, thank all of y'all for coming out and all of the CSE and other banks that is here. Thank y'all also, and the city and the parish. Thank you, Mr. Tariq and Mrs. Hiddenbottom. Thank y'all for all y'all for being here. So give yourself a big hand for tonight. But before y'all leave, go back and visit the table again, because there'll probably be some questions you forgot to ask. Check with the people that we're here for. This is what the plan is all about. Thank y'all, and may God bless y'all and have a good day in the Lord.
Thank y'all so much.